You ever just stop and think about those little things, the ones that seem insignificant at first?
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine a perfectly still pond.
Yeah.
And then one tiny drop of water falls right in the center.
I'm picturing it.
You see that splash, right?
Yeah.
But what happens next is what's fascinating.
Okay.
Those ripples start spreading out further and further until they reach every single edge of that pond.
I like that, the ripples.
And that image, that's kind of what we're going to explore today.
Okay.
Because we're talking about church planting.
Church planting.
But not in the traditional sense of just a building.
Okay.
We're going way deeper than that, way deeper.
I like it.
We're diving into, specifically, this piece we've got. It's called The Ripple Effect.
Interesting title.
And it talks about the impact, the sometimes surprising impact, of planting a single church.
So not just about, like, the building itself.
No.
But the effects it has.
The impact, it goes way beyond just having a place for people to gather on Sunday.
Got it.
And our mission today, what we really want to dig into, is how that one new church can create these huge, huge waves of change.
Huge.
Yeah, big waves.
Yeah.
Ones that affect not just individuals,
Mm-hmm.
but families, communities, maybe even more.
Like those ripples?
Exactly, like those ripples spreading out.
I like it.
So, to make sense of all this, we're going to focus on 4 key dimensions of this whole ripple effect idea.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
First, we'll talk about spiritual awakening, the kind of personal transformation that happens at the core.
A heart of it.
Then community empowerment, how a church becomes this center, this hub for real, tangible change.
Okay, so not just internal, but actually affecting the community.
Exactly.
All right.
Then leadership development, how a church raises up new leaders from within.
That's crucial.
Oh, yeah.
To keep things going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And finally, generational impact, how this ripples out through families across time.
Wow, so it's a long-term vision.
Long-term for sure.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so let's jump right in with that first ripple, that initial drop in the pond. Spiritual awakening.
Okay.
And that's all about personal transformation, right?
Right. That makes sense.
So imagine someone, just a regular person, living in a community where things are tough.
Yeah.
Maybe they're battling an addiction, or maybe they just feel lost, no sense of purpose.
Like a drift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they step into this brand new church.
There could be curiosity.
Could be hitting rock bottom. Who knows?
Yeah.
But something happens.
Something shifts.
Yeah, some fundamental change.
Okay.
They start to feel hope, maybe for the first time in a long time.
Powerful.
They begin to understand who they are, their identity, in a whole new light.
A new perspective.
It's about breaking free from those cycles, those really difficult cycles that keep people trapped.
Are you talking about spiritual emptiness,
Yeah.
poverty,
Mhm.
societal injustices, those big systems?
Absolutely.
It's tough to escape those.
It is. And this piece, the ripple effect, it really emphasizes that without, a spiritual foundation,
Okay.
people often struggle to find that meaning, that direction.
They're searching.
They are, and that search can lead down some pretty dark paths.
Right, and the church offers something different.
It does.
A new path,
A new story.
a way to be whole again.
Exactly.
So what stood out to you in the reading about how this actually happens, this internal shift?
Well, a few things, really.
Okay.
First, it's seeing others who've gone through that transformation.
Like a living example.
Yeah, it makes it real, seeing someone else's life change because of their faith.
Proof that it's possible.
Exactly. And then there's that sense of community, like you find this instant support network.
People who get it.
Yeah, this family within the church. And for some, it might be the first time they've ever felt that kind of unconditional love and acceptance.
Wow, that's powerful, that feeling of belonging.
It is. And then finally, there's this hunger for truth,
They want to learn more.
They want to learn to grow, to understand what they believe and why.
That's a good sign.
It is.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about this first ripple, this spiritual awakening.
What's that?
It doesn't stay put. It doesn't stay confined to just the individual.
It spreads out.
It spreads out because as people's lives change, that positive influence, that new way of seeing things, it naturally spills over into their families, their workplaces,
Yeah.
their neighborhoods. It's like a chain reaction.
I see.
So that personal transformation,
Yeah.
it's really the foundation for everything else that follows.
Without it, the other ripples wouldn't have the same power.
Exactly. It's the driving force.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that leads us right into the second ripple.
It just is.
Community empowerment.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So the church, it becomes more than just a spiritual haven.
Okay.
It evolves into this hub for real practical change in the community.
Like a center of activity.
Exactly. And throughout history, churches have been instrumental in shaping societies
I can see that.
by addressing people's needs, not just their spiritual needs, but their everyday needs.
Right, like meeting people where they are.
Exactly. And this piece really stresses that a truly effective new church, it becomes woven into the fabric of its community.
It's not just this isolated entity.
No, it's part of the ecosystem.
Right, right.
And there's this powerful idea that's emphasized.
What's that?
Faith without works is dead.
I've heard that before.
It means that it's not enough to just talk about love and compassion.
Yeah, show it.
You got to show it, you got to put it into action.
Makes sense.
So what kind of actions are we talking about?
Well, the reading gives some great examples.
Yeah, like feeding the hungry.
Yeah, through food banks, soup kitchens, that kind of thing.
Providing educational opportunities.
Literacy programs for adults.
Right, tutoring for kids, Bible studies.
Yeah, equipping people with knowledge
Job skills training.
to help people get back on their feet financially.
Exactly, supporting families.
Counseling services, parenting workshops, things like that.
And what about those communities divided by conflict?
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
Churches can become these forces for reconciliation,
Bringing people together.
bridging those divides, whether it's tribal, racial, socioeconomic, whatever it is.
Churches can be a safe space for that.
They can, and we shouldn't forget about that, the safe haven aspect.
What do you mean?
The reading talks about churches being shelters for those who've been abused,
Right.
sanctuaries for those who feel lost and alone.
A place to heal.
Exactly. And in communities facing a lot of hardship, that sense of security and belonging can be life-changing.
It's like a lifeline.
It is. It truly is.
So this community empowerment ripple,
Yeah.
it's about demonstrating that love and compassion in real, tangible ways.
Exactly. It's not just words, it's action.
And it doesn't stop at the church doors,
It spreads out, just like the first ripple.
affecting the whole community.
The whole community.
Right.
Okay, so now we come to a really interesting question. How do you make sure that a new church doesn't just become this service provider?
Right, where the community becomes dependent on it.
Yeah, that's where leadership development comes in.
Okay, that's our third ripple.
Third ripple, and it's all about shifting the focus from receiving help to becoming a leader.
Empowering people from within.
Exactly. And the reading highlights how crucial it is for effective church planting to prioritize developing local leaders.
It's not about relying on outsiders forever.
No, it's about equipping people from the community to lead their own initiatives.
And why is that so important?
Well, the piece makes the point that lasting change happens when it comes from within.
People who understand the context.
Yeah, they get the culture, they know the specific challenges and needs.
Right, they're not coming in with a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. And the reading gives some really practical examples of leadership roles.
What kinds of roles?
People taking on preaching and teaching responsibilities.
Okay, so leading services.
Leading small groups.
Yeah, like Bible studies or prayer groups.
Organizing and running social outreach programs.
So putting that faith into action.
And even going on to plant new churches themselves.
Wow, so it's like a multiplying effect.
Exactly. That's a key point the reading makes.
How so?
It's not just about one person's life changing.
It spreads.
It spreads, they then invest in others, mentor them, guide them.
And those people become leaders themselves.
And some of those leaders go on to start new churches.
It's like a chain reaction of leadership.
It's exponential growth.
I see. So this third ripple,
Yeah.
it's about ensuring the work continues.
It's about sustainability.
Long-term vision.
It's about lighting new fires, not just watching the initial one fade out.
Beautiful imagery.
Okay, so we've seen how this ripple effect starts with personal transformation,
Right.
spreads out to empower the community.
And then raises up new leaders.
Now we come to the final ripple, the one that really looks at the long-term vision.
Okay. And that is
Generational impact.
generational impact. Wow.
This is about how these new churches affect not just individuals, but whole families, generations to come.
That's thinking big picture.
It is, and the reading describes this incredible transformation that can happen within families when parents embrace faith.
How so?
You see marriages that were struggling suddenly becoming strong again.
Yeah.
Children being raised with a solid foundation of values.
Values that will guide them.
Yes, and a legacy of faith being passed down.
Instead of those negative patterns.
Instead of dysfunction, instead of generational sin, you have discipleship.
And generational blessing.
Right. And the reading gives these really compelling historical examples.
Oh, tell me about those.
It talks about long-lasting movements of faith
Okay.
that started with small church plants in places like the Philippines, parts of Africa,
Okay.
Latin America.
Those are some powerful examples.
They are, and it shows that this isn't just a quick fix.
It's a long-term investment.
It's about laying a foundation for a lasting spiritual heritage.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is, and it really drives home the point that planting a church isn't just about meeting today's needs.
It's about shaping the future.
It's about giving future generations a chance to experience faith, to walk in it.
And this final ripple, it's the most enduring one.
It is, because long after the original church planters are gone, that faith, it lives on in the people whose lives were touched.
It's like planting a seed that grows into a mighty tree.
A beautiful analogy, and the reading closes this section with a powerful thought.
What's that?
It says that a single church plant isn't the end.
It's just the beginning.
It's the beginning of an unstoppable movement.
A movement of redemption.
Spreading that core message of faith.
And changing communities, even nations, over time.
Which brings us to this crucial point.
Okay.
A church is more than just a building.
It's about the people.
It's about the people that transform lives.
Right. The real work is in the lives that are changed.
And the reading emphasizes that true success in church planting, it's not about numbers.
Not about how many people show up.
It's about the impact on people's lives.
Redemption, restoration, revitalization.
Exactly. Those are the real metrics.
I like that.
And the reading paints this incredible picture of that ripple effect in action.
Okay. I'm listening.
Families that were broken, finding healing and reconciliation.
Beautiful.
Communities that were divided, finding unity through their faith.
Powerful.
And new leaders rising up.
Leaders who are committed to serving others.
It really changes how you think about what a church is meant to be.
It's not just a Sunday gathering.
It's a force for good in the world.
And the reading gives this great example.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
It's about an individual who was struggling with addiction.
Okay.
And he found freedom through his faith.
That's amazing.
It is. And that change, that transformation.
Didn't stop with him.
It rippled out to his family.
His family, his community, it became a testament to the power of faith.
A real-life example.
Exactly. And it shows how that inner chain
That personal transformation
leads to the restoration of families.
Fathers stepping up.
Mothers nurturing faith.
Children growing up in a loving, grace-filled environment.
And that foundation, it has a huge impact on the community as a whole.
It's like building a strong house, brick by brick.
And the reading really challenges that traditional idea of the church as just a Sunday morning event.
It's so much more than that.
It talks about its potential as a catalyst for social change.
Like those historical revivals.
Exactly, where entire societies were transformed.
And it gives examples of how new churches become agents of reconciliation in places of conflict.
Yeah, champions of compassion for those who are marginalized.
Voices for integrity and justice.
It's about putting faith into action in the real world.
And let's not forget those practical examples we talked about earlier.
Like feeding the hungry,
Providing education and job training.
supporting families in need.
Those are all crucial aspects.
It always comes back to that question, how can we serve?
Alongside, how can we grow?
It's not either, it's both hand.
And it's all tied to that essential element of developing local leaders.
Moving away from dependence on outsiders, empowering people from within.
To become the pastors, the teachers, the missionaries of tomorrow.
And the reading makes this really clear.
What's it?
Planting a church, it's not the end.
It's just the beginning.
It's the beginning of a movement.
a multiplying movement.
It talks about how one healthy, vibrant church
Can become a hub,
for training new church planters,
supporting missionaries.
establishing networks of discipleship.
Exponential growth.
It's the idea that one small beginning can lead to something truly unstoppable.
Amazing.
And the reading concludes by saying that the real measure of success,
It's not about immediate results.
it's about the lasting legacy.
The impact across
It
generations.
talks about building something that lasts.
Something that equips future generations.
And when you have communities of faith all across a nation,
It creates a foundation for lasting change.
stronger families, higher ethical standards, a society shaped by those core values,
Compassion, justice, love.
those transform lives. They have the power to transform societies.
It's a ripple effect on a grand scale.
And it becomes a mission that goes beyond any one person's lifespan,
Building for eternity.
where the true impact is in the lives that are changed.
So much more than just buildings.
That one act of planting a church,
It can spark revival,
reconciliation,
renewal.
it's a beautiful vision.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the ripple effect,
Yeah.
what would you say are the key takeaways for our listener today?
Well, the title says it all, really.
The ripple effect.
That one church plant, it creates these waves of change.
Affecting individuals, families,
It
communities,
starts with that spiritual awakening,
leads to community empowerment,
raises up new leaders.
and leaves a lasting impact across generations. It's a reminder that even the smallest act of faith,
Can have huge consequences.
like that drop of water in the pond,
Spreading out,
Yeah.
touching everything.
So as you go about your day today,
Yeah.
think about the drops you're creating.
What kind of ripples are you sending out?
What potential for change might be hidden in those seemingly small beginnings?
It's something to think about.
It is, and that's where we'll leave it for today.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.